the regime has delivered on its promise to avenge the death of Security Chief Ali Larijani with its most sinister retaliatory wave yet. At midnight, ballistic missiles carrying cluster warheads launched from Iranian soil saturated Israel's multi-layered air defense systems, striking the heart of Tel Aviv and the Ramat Gan suburbs. The dispersal of thousands of submunitions in midair over civilian areas has created a climate of total terror and devastation. Initial reports confirm that these munitions have caused extensive damage to civilian infrastructure, leaving dozens injured in their wake. This strike proves that the regime has shifted its strategy to maximum psychological destruction, targeting civilian morale and the social fabric rather than strictly military assets. As smoke rises over the Tel Aviv skyline, Tehran has signaled to the world that even with its leadership decimated, its retaliatory capacity remains lethal. Israel's impenetrable Iron Dome and Arrow systems faced their most grueling test in history during this latest cluster missile attack. Iranian engineers have deployed a new generation of cluster warheads designed to release submunitions even if the primary missile is intercepted. This creates a saturation effect that paralyzes defense algorithms, turning every small bomblet into an individual threat. Footage surfacing on social media shows the sky illuminated by thousands of small explosions as these incendiary devices rained down on streets, parks, and residential gardens. Military analysts emphasize that this attack is an example of technological brutality, necessitating a total rewrite of regional air defense doctrines. Tehran's bloody surprise has shown Washington and Tel Aviv the devastating cost this war will have on civilian populations. Official statements from Tehran claim that this cluster missile strike is merely the first phase of the vengeance for Ali Larijani. The newly appointed command structure has announced that a much larger series of ballistic missiles, specifically targeting American and Israeli cities, is on standby. This threat has placed Allied bases and civilian centers across the region on the highest level of alert. The intensity of this retaliatory will suggest that Washington's decapitation strikes have not collapsed the regime, but rather pushed it into a more radical and uncontrollable state. The rules of engagement have been completely discarded. Metropolitan centers are now direct targets, and no bunker offers absolute security. For every defense factory burned, the regime has sworn to extract the price from civilian centers. In Washington, President Trump has abandoned all diplomatic niceties, issuing a blistering ultimatum to NATO allies who have refused to support the multinational naval force aimed at reopening the Strait of Hormuz. Characterizing the Allies' hesitation as a foolish mistake and historic ingratitude, Trump addressed the nation from the Oval Office, reiterating that the era of free American protection is over. "We spend tens of billions protecting you, but when we need you, you're not there." This is unacceptable, Trump declared, directly questioning the future validity of NATO. The refusal of key actors like the UK, France, and Germany to deploy warships has turned Trump's America First doctrine into a tool for punishing allies. Washington is now determined to redefine allies as only those standing shoulder to shoulder with American troops in the field. Trump's anger toward NATO is not just a diplomatic grievance. It carries the weight of concrete economic sanctions. Trump views the silence of European and Asian nations, whose energy security is entirely dependent on the Strait of Hormuz, as a betrayal. If you aren't willing to put skin in the game to secure your own oil, you will pay every cent for the protection the American military provides you, Trump stated, increasing pressure on allies to raise defense spending far beyond the 2% threshold. This outburst has sent shockwaves through Allied capitals, making it clear that Trump views their neutrality not as a silent consent, but as a financial debt and a loyalty test. Washington is no longer moving with diplomacy, but with a defense invoice in hand. Trump's warning that allies are making a historic mistake has triggered the deepest legitimacy crisis for the modern alliance system since World War II. The chasm between the Allies' desire to avoid a wider war and Trump's demand for unconditional support has put NATO's Article 5 under intense scrutiny. Signals from the Trump administration that it might suspend defense commitments to countries that refuse to join the coalition have brought the alliance to the brink of collapse. This strategic fracture is paralyzing not only military operations, but also the collective stance of the Western world against global crisis. As Trump attempts to break the Allies' habit of free protection through this war, the Strait of Hormuz may well become the graveyard of NATO. While alliances crumble, Trump's resolve to act alone is chilling the rest of the world. As the military intensity escalates, a massive political earthquake has struck the heart of the Trump administration. Joseph Kent, director of the National Counterterrorism Center, NCTC, has announced his resignation, stating that Iran does not pose an imminent threat to America. Kent's resignation letter hit Washington like a bombshell, alleging that the true driver of the war is not national security, but pressure from the Israel lobby and powerful domestic interest groups. A former Green Beret and CIA officer, Kent emphasized that he refused to spend the lives of patriots for the war-hungry ambitions of foreign interests. This resignation is the most severe blow from within to the administration's justification for the war, shaking its arguments at the highest level. Joseph Kent's resignation exposes the deep America First divide within the Pentagon and the intelligence community. To have a counterterrorism chief oppose an ongoing military operation on both ethical and strategic grounds has thrown Trump's necessary war thesis into chaos before the American public. While Trump dismissed the move as weakness, the departure has caused a significant morale shock within the lower ranks of the military. The emphasis on an unnecessary war in the resignation letter has resonated deeply with the opposition, pushing the debate over the true purpose of the conflict to a point of no return. Washington is now fighting a legitimacy war both abroad with its allies and at home within its own bureaucracy. The retaliatory strikes, the fragmentation of NATO, and the resignation earthquake in Washington have pushed the war to a terminal threshold. The next 48 hours will reveal whether the remaining elements of the regime pull the white flag, or if Trump's promised final blow will commence. At the Military Report, we continue to track every radar blip in the Hormuz and every classified order from the White House. The fate of the world depends on the decisions made in these coming hours. Subscribe, turn on notifications, and witness the course of history with us. Thank you for watching, and stay strategic.